guys, it's Stephanie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Yesterday we talked a little bit about what we did. We talked a lot about mythology, legend, and the backstory of Star Wars and characterization as far as Han Solo and Leia. And we'll go through Luke. We'll go through what the Force is at a later date. I haven't really compiled any thoughts on those yet. This is going to be a little different. You know, Kathy Kennedy always whined about there were no women involved in Star Wars. You know, there weren't enough women. That's how she sounds. I really don't think so. You know, just, Anyway, actually, she's a liar. You know how the story group is mostly women who have no idea what Star Wars is about? The lore, what the Force is, the characters, and we basically got all this garbage because they're not fully equipped as far as knowledge-wise and, you know, the franchise? Okay. When Legends was canon, and it still should be canon, or at least parts of it, I found at least 5 female authors. Now, I'm going to preface this with saying, science fiction is usually the domain of men. Fantasy is mostly the domain of men. My mom did not read The Lord of the Rings. My dad did. My mom did not read C.S. Lewis. My dad did. I read it all too. My mom did not read Watership Down. My dad did, and I did. But my mom didn't. Do you understand? He liked that stuff. To write fantasy, you're not writing it for this make-believe world. A, it's an escape. But B, if you look at the way Tolkien did it, look at the way C.S. Lewis did it, you look at the way Richard Adams did it, and George Lucas, they wrote it to tell the story of humanity. All right? C.S. Lewis and his Christian motif all through The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Chronicles of Narnia. J.R.R. Tolkien, his Christian motif, from the Catholic perspective, all through Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Silmarillion, la la la. Richard Adams told the story of humanity's grasp for individualism and freedom through a bunch of wandering rabbits. Okay, these are things that you can do with fantasy. George Lucas did that. Talked about the collective human conscious, collective human mythology through Star Wars, heroism. You know, that women can be heroes. I talked about Leia's role in Han's life and Han's role in her life. And it was a meeting of the equals. She doesn't necessarily dominate him, nor does he her. She is somebody, and I'm going to say this, to be won, but he has to go through hoops to get her. Do you remember? He rushes to her side, he rescues her, and then he fights in the service of her surrogate father, the rebellion, which is a red thread all through mythology, humanity's story of itself. And it doesn't make, and Leia is not a weeping damsel in distress. You know, when she's on the Death Star and they go to rescue her, I remember someone saying it was kind of like all of a sudden you realize you've been rescued by Bo and Luke Duke. I mean, so she kind of takes charge of what's going on and helps them help her get out. She's not a wilting lily. However, she still is that prize that the hero must go through hoops, go through challenges, obstacles to win. And I don't see anything wrong with that. So anyway, we talked about that, but today I'm going to talk about women authors in Star Wars. Now, like I said, men dominate the fantasy and science fiction world. You're going to have to get used to that, okay? Because it's true. They also definitely dominate the thriller world, which is fine by me because let's put it this way. There's a senator from California who writes thrillers, and she couldn't carry Vince Flynn's Mac Air book, okay, because she's a terrible writer. She's just, there are some things that women just shouldn't do unless they've really got a hard edge to them. And if you're just gonna be an emotional ninny, don't do it. Thrillers are not places for those kinds of women. But anyway, that's a different story. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the women authors who wrote Legends. Now remember, like I said before, Kathy Kennedy didn't think women had anything to do with Star Wars. My opinion about Kathy Kennedy is that she never saw the movies. She didn't understand it. She's not knowledgeable in the franchise. She really had no clue. And when she hired Carrie Hart, who has no experience in fantasy or science fiction or in any knowledge at all in what Star Wars is, she really, really did a disservice. Hiring all those women in the story group with no experience in writing fantasy or science fiction or Star Wars really did a disservice to the franchise, and you can see it, because then they hire activists who write shit like this. Okay? Alright, so let's talk about this. We have Karen Travis, who wrote several books in the EU. Christy Golden. Martha Wells, who wrote this one. Good book, by the way. I haven't started it. I read it a long time ago. Kathy Tyers, who wrote, among other things, The Truce of Bakura, which is a great book. AC Crispin. This is for John and Larry Kasdan. She wrote the original origin story for Han Solo. It was in your hands. You could have lifted stuff from there. I wouldn't have cared. But you didn't. And she stabbed you into the ground like, wilted tomatoes. I mean, she just pummels you with her writing. So these are just some of the names. I've gone through as many of the lists as I can. My attitude, or my feeling is, if somebody else knows other female authors, to please put that in the comments, because I'd really appreciate it. However, these ladies wrote some really, really good stories. So there were women, writers, writing novels for Star Wars. Okay? This is not anything that is shocking or surprising. And it shouldn't be shocking or surprising to anybody. Kathy Kennedy's ideas, definitely Carrie Hart's ideas, are kill the past. What is written will always remain there. Okay? What is written will always remain there. So yes, there were women who wrote Star Wars novels. You look at it from the point of the long lens of time, and you realize that they're either ignorant, that Kennedy is ignorant of it, or she's dismissive of it. I just go, you can't be so stupid you lie to us, because we can find this. So you've got to be ignorant of it. So what was her point? I mean, she's basically, people who are brand new to Star Wars don't realize this. Don't realize books like this exist. They don't realize that novels written by women are there for them to read, and they're good. They're just as good as anything a man wrote. Okay? We didn't need this feminist crap. We've outstripped it, all right, anymore. I mean, I don't have any use for it. I really don't know any women who do. Personally, my contact with feminists who push miserable garbage like this, see, there's her evil name right there, Claudia Gray, are miserable human beings. They're unhappy, so they're shoving their cultural rot on all of us, or their inner emotional rot on all of us. This is a good story. All right? There's nothing I feel, when I read this a long time ago, I didn't feel insulted. My intelligence wasn't insulted. My knowledge of Star Wars was enhanced. And my knowledge of who the characters was enhanced. This is a complete denial of everything I talked about yesterday. All right? And I'm sorry, this doesn't work. Neither, if we're going to a guy's book, does this. This is boring garbage right here. All right? So what do we do? Or why am I talking about this? Because I think it's important in the age of Me Too and, crapping all over men everywhere. Someone has to say the honest to God truth. Someone has to remind these crazy ass feminists that they're wrong. They're hurting people. They're hurting themselves. They're hurting the culture. We don't need that when we've got this. Which is why I'm here today, talking about women authors in Star Wars. I'm going to leave you guys with this. And ignore the clarion next door. And it's a church, Methodist church, and they play hymns at noon and 6, and it doesn't bother me at all, actually, except when I want to do a video, it goes off. I have to change my timeline, don't I? I have to change my time when I do this. Anyway, we have to remember that there were women who wrote legends. We can't deny it. If you overrepresent one gender in a natural setting where they really wouldn't be there unless they wanted to be, like me, you ruin the story, the saga, what you're attempting to do with something creative. If you have an overabundance of one or the other, it has to be natural. Okay, naturally, science fiction and fantasy is the realm of the man, and that's fine. If you're a woman and you like it for what it is. You're not an activist, and you just want to write for it because you like it, like I do. Go for it. But if you're a woman who sees a genre that has an overabundance of men and it pisses you off, so therefore you want to go in there and write what you want to write for out of this activist sort of crazy idea, you're going to hurt that piece, that you're going to hurt that genre, because the genre can't take that kind of messaging. Star Wars never needed it. Ever. Okay, listen to me. Star Wars did not need this third wave feminist crap. Ever. Okay, this only started when Disney bought it and left Kathleen Kennedy in charge. Okay, and now they're paying for it. Because your demographic is white men, is men. I'll say men, because I know way too many African American men and Latino men who love the OT, love the prequels, who hate the sequels because they feel abused, disavowed, disenfranchised. This is their thing. Sure, they want girls to play, but you better understand that you're playing with the boys, okay? So there might not be 50 other women. Who cares? If you can't hang with the boys in a genre like science fiction and fantasy, then go write romance. Go write Twilight. Go write 50 Shades of Mommy porn. Okay? Because you're not wanted in Star Wars, in The Lord of the Rings, in Narnia, with the rabbits on Watership Down. You are not wanted there. If you can't deal with it, go find something else. Okay? Like Claudia Gray, go find something else because you're not wanted. My mission is, if we can't get everything except for Rogue One decanonized, then we'll at least get these shitty books. Like this garbage decanonized. Okay? Because it has to happen. Because right now, from everything that I looked at in using Star Wars The Magic of Myth yesterday, nothing that happened in the OT makes sense now if this is the way Han, Leia, and Luke are represented in garbage like this. Okay, it doesn't make sense anymore. But you have to go and read The Magic of Myth. Go back and really think about how they changed. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I said this yesterday. You cannot go back to who you were 10 years ago. A 180 character regression for anybody is, in a continuing story, is weak, it's lazy-ass writing, and there's no thought behind it. And you can't sacrifice the greatness that was Lucas's ideas, his vision, for your political motif, because Star Wars can't handle it. Star Wars doesn't need it. Okay? I mean, honest to God, Chuck Wendig and Claudia Gray, mostly Claudia Gray, wants to write feminist hagiographies. Go for it. But you don't belong in Star Wars. Okay? We had, at one time, Karen Travis, who wrote a bunch of different books. Did she? All right. Maybe that was Kathy Tyers. Karen Travis, Christy Golden, Martha Wells, AC Crispin, who wrote that beautiful Han Solo origin story, that trilogy. Kathy Tyers, who wrote several, who wrote The Truce of Bakura. We had women there. They could easily handle being in a man's world. So, my advice to Claudia Gray and several of the other women who are writing for Star Wars, you are not needed. You are not wanted, because you don't care about the genre. You don't care about doing it the right way. All you care about is your political point of view. And I'll leave you with this. You can tell an artist who they really are by the art they create. And this is ugly. This is truly ugly, lazy, not well thought out. This, beautiful. The difference between a radical third wave feminist, probably someone who's a feminist but at least understands her job and understands the genre. All right? All around a decent person. You guys be the judge. This is Steph, signing out. See you around the galaxy.